you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone. Amanda, actually, he is called Louis, even though his name is Louis. So it's an interesting a thing about Louis Armstrong. I just want to tell you, because I'm looking at myself on the Zoom, last night I returned from 3 days on a farm living in a yurt. So I am really happy to see all of you upon my return to civilization. And I'm a little bit tired, and but it's just delightful. It couldn't be better. It couldn't be a better way to come back from the farm. So I will begin by again thanking you all for being here and your indulgence in hearing my story. I'm delighted to be able to share with you my enthusiasm for the Humans Project. First of all, I'd like to explain what a Humans Project is. And it's an opportunity for people to tell their personal stories and therefore sharing and reaching out to others. This is done on social media, in books, videos, and exhibits. We are here to learn about people from all over the world, as there are literally hundreds of human projects. You may ask, why? Why have a human project? What's this all about? Well, the purpose is because we're curious. We're curious about other people. And in turn, it helps us reflect upon ourselves. As for purpose, this is in part up to the reader. Storytelling is, in and of itself, the purpose by bringing joy, entertainment, information, and creativity to our lives. For this project, the storytelling is our connection to others. The Human Project began in New York City. So I'm going to read this. Humans of New York began as a photography project in 2010. The initial goal was to photograph 10,000 New Yorkers on the street and create an exhaustive catalog of the city's inhabitants. And I will say that Brandon did start out with homeless people in the very, very beginning, later expanding to lots of other people. Somewhere along the way, I began to interview my subjects in addition to photographing them. And along with their portraits, I included quotes and short stories from their lives. So I have continued to enjoy Humans projects from all over the world. Here's a few of my favorites: Humans of Bombay, Humans of Papua New Guinea, and of course, Humans of Canada. Thank you, Amanda. In some photos, the focus is on humans doing technology or humans in business, but mainly the stories are about people in a certain geographic area. And for me, the importance of the Human Project lies in connection. It's all about connection. So I asked myself, how can we find out about others who share our environment? Who are these people? Are they like me? Do we share the same goals? Do we share the same dreams? What is unique about each and every one of them? I believe it is not what we achieve in life that makes us stand out, but who we are affects what we achieve. So I have avoided quote unquote famous people, and I focus on people, all kinds of people who are willing to share their stories, whatever it may be. From these stories, I personally feel more human and more connected, and have an appreciation of each and every one of those people who participate. The Humans Project is of the heart, because we speak from our hearts when we tell our stories. Our stories are us, They are precious. And when we share them, we are sharing our hearts and souls. So for me, in this place, this is my place of heart. Here we are in our beautiful, beautiful Salish Sea. I'll begin with the story of my journey of the Humans Project. And as it turns out, it's also a story about COVID adaptation. That was completely unexpected. In 2019, I had been working in New Zealand, and I went to do this work in interpretation of nature and heritage. I'd been there several times before, and I had developed a wonderful relationship with my colleagues. So in 2019, when I arrived in Christchurch, which is South Island, New Zealand, I was naturally exhausted, kind of like I am today, and very jet lagged. The first thing I did when I arrived at my temporary home was to set up my computer so I could communicate. And I saw on Facebook that a local friend, one of my former colleagues, was announcing an event for that evening. That event was an opportunity to meet some of the humans of Christchurch, complete with a slideshow and a talk given by many of the humans, and of course, delicious food. I thought to myself, well, I could go see this friend, Sarah, and maybe I could travel into town to go to the venue, which was at the library. I was so exhausted. So I quickly I gave up the idea. I just thought, I'm too tired, been on the plane too long. But then I was standing at my window in Littleton, which is a harbor outside Christchurch, and I could see a city bus rambling down a hill. And I thought, I didn't even think. I just grabbed my bag and I rushed out to the bus stop and I jumped on the bus. I'd never been on that bus route, any of those bus routes before, but I thought, well, they're bound to have a central bus station, which they did. And there's bound to be people in town who can tell me the way to the library, which they did. So here I am with Sarah after I surprised her, and we are so happy to see each other. And you can see what a wreck I was. That's me after coming off the plane. And I sat and I watched the presentation. Humans Project was new to me. I met some humans. I enjoyed the experience. And yes, I had wonderful food. What was this human thing all about? I found out at that presentation, and it is as I described it to you. Sarah knew my skill set and asked if I would join the team as an interviewer and writer, and I promptly gave a resounding yes. My first interview was with Ken, a survivor of sexual abuse, which began when he was very young. He had some rough years. He got arrested. He nearly killed someone. All that rage and confusion affecting who he was. But luckily, Ken found a way to help others and heal. He now runs a national recovery program for men who have had such experiences. It was a tough interview, but I was glad it was my first because I learned right away how to ask the right questions and show the empathy that I was feeling while gathering the story. This story turned out to be the biggest success up to that point for Humans of Christchurch because Ken was brave and shared so much. And luckily, I could put his words into a story that people could digest. As we know from New York, Humans Projects have involved going up to people, approaching them on the street and sharing the concept and asking them if they would share their story. This is Elizabeth, who I saw in Cathedral Square selling bags. She's from Bolivia, And I had bought one of her bags, and then I realized I could interview her for the project. She agreed, and I was delighted because I was fascinated with immigrant stories. I'm always fascinated with immigrant stories. The next few months in New Zealand were just wonderful, and I developed my skills with all these special humans. Fast forward to my return to the States in February 2020. I loved the Human Project so much. Loved working with my team members, my partner Neil, the photographer in New Zealand, and the other writers and photographers. I loved all of it. I'm referring to New Zealand now. Now that I was back, I could not get it out of my mind. What if I thought I could start a project here focused on the Salish Sea? What if the project encompassed the whole Salish Sea, 2 countries, numerous islands, mainlands with towering mountains and rainforests? I learned it was a monumental task. And because of the geographic area was so huge, but I wanted to have a go. So I went first to Friday Harbor, planning to spend about a month in the islands, the US islands, and on the US mainland, finding team members, assembling a team. My plan was then to go to Victoria and do the same thing. The photographers came fairly easily, but finding interviewers with the skills and time and interest proved to be impossible. I was not deterred. I did not give up. I thought I'll do the interviews and then slowly I'll find more people to do interviews. So I was moving forward, set to depart for Victoria on March 23rd. Well, you know what happened. The border closed on March 21st, and there I was in Friday Harbor. This was the COVID bit. This is the adaptation. I figured I could do the interviews by phone, record them, and then transcribe them, as long as I had a good photographer, good photographers to take the pictures. The photographers are such an important part. The story is nothing without a great photograph. So we could start on Facebook if I could assemble the photographers and find the humans. Happily, I found Steve Lustig, who is here with us today. And I'm hoping Steve will be around for the forum. So you may have some questions for Steve. Steve lives here in Victoria, and I found him through Amanda and John. So thank you both for that. So let's pause for a moment and talk about the Salish Sea and the naming of this place, which occurred in 2009 and 2010. And again, I will read this slide. This is the man who gave it the name, although the name was apparent with indigenous people before, and there was a collaboration. The Salish Sea has been formally named twice, initially by First Nations and tribal governments in 2007, and then by the US and Canada in late 2009 and early 2010. This map is a map of the Salish Sea that shows the extent of it from Comox to the Olympic Mountains, from the Fraser River to Vancouver Island, and out the Straits of Juan de Fuca. The beauty of the sea, as we all know, cannot be rivaled. Can be rivaled, I'm sorry, but maybe cannot. But our love for it cannot be rivaled. Just over a year later, we are now at 33 stories from as far afield as possible, given that we have COVID. And I'd like to share a few of them with you. This is Isabel of Victoria, a Cree from Edmonton, who shares her spiritual journey and gives us insight into life for Indigenous people. This is Richard of Nanu's Bay, who shares with us the many lessons he's learned about coming to Canada after growing up in apartheid South Africa. David of San Juan Island has recreated the beautiful and fabulous sculpture park, building ponds, incorporating creative spaces, and creating forests with whimsical sculptures. This is Jill of Decatur Island, a nature artist who uses mushrooms, flowers, leaves, and whatever she finds to create her beautiful creations, which have a conservation message. Cello of San Juan Island bravely shared her story of growing up poor in a mining town, which was destroyed, and her struggles with depression. Butch Dick of the Songhees Nation tells us about the traditions his family practiced when he was growing up and some history about indigenous life in the Salish Sea. Nathan and his wife Sage grow ancient grains, restore native habitat and usage, and run a bakery on Lopez Island. Will had a difficult time in urban California and came to San Juan Island to seek a safer and better life for his children. And these two beloved ones, Dick and Kathy, well, I know you know them, but did you know the story, their love story, how they met and how they came to do what they do? It's all in their story. The Human Project takes us to places we may not know, and we learn and understand those who are among us, but may not be known to us. Through their stories, we can understand our world better. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of our beloved humans. The project goes on as I search for more stories to share. When we are released, I hope to fulfill my dream of interviewing people and capturing their stories live, and of course, coming to Victoria. This is a great blessing in my life, to be an interpreter and a story catcher. I humbly thank you for your attention and kindness in allowing me to share these stories. Many, many, many thanks to my wonderful photographers, without whom I couldn't have put this project together. Jim Maya and Bob Stavers of San Juan Island, Mark Gardner of Anacortes, and of course, Steve Lustig of Victoria. Without them, there wouldn't be a Humans of the Salish Sea. The collaboration between the humans and the humans behind the humans is truly sensational. If you are a Facebook user, you can find the project by searching for Humans of the Salish Sea. And there's also, you can search by Humans of the Salish Sea at lowercase Humans of the Salish Sea. Namaste and thank you.